Quercus Assignments, Quizzes, and Surveys.
Welcome everyone today, and we're going to be looking at Quercus Assignments, Quizzes, and Surveys to support student learning. And today my co-presenter is Ken Berry, and we have other members of our team here during this meeting as well. Melissa Khan, Angie Capiello, and Shane Chan. So we're going to be looking at comparing assignments and quizzes and just some tips and some suggestions as you look towards your exams or midterms or other assessments. Assignments, how to create them, an assignment with Turnitin, accommodations for students, how to grade and how to group and weight your grades, and setting up a quiz, just some tips in terms of moderating during the quiz and how to set up accommodations for your students, and some ways that quizzes and surveys are being used by UTM instructors. And we'll also have a question and answer as well. So in selecting your assignment tool, we have, of course, the very knowledgeable educational developers at Robert Gillespie Academic Skills Center who can help you look at your learning outcomes and help to align those assessments with those learning outcomes. Today we're going to be looking at, in terms of the assessments, the different tools that you can use to help support you as you look at how you want to assess student understanding, student learning during the course, and which tools will align with your outcomes and assessment goals. So in looking at the different tools, thinking about what is the difference between assignments and quizzes, how these differ. So if you're thinking of a peer review assessment, Elspeth, as you had mentioned you are interested in, assignments tool is really one that you could use for a peer review assignment. There's not really a peer review assignment option in quizzes. A group assignment can also be set up, and members of the group would work together, and then one individual from that group would submit the assignment. You as the instructor and your TAs have the option to either grade individually or to grade people as a group. And in terms of auto-graded questions, really quizzes is the only option here, unless you also have some computer science background and have there are some instructors who have automated grading programs that they've developed themselves. In terms of randomizing your questions and answers, quizzes are really your main option here. For Turnitin, it's really only assignments that you can use Turnitin with. And in terms of annotating in SpeedGrader, that is really only assignments, and it's really only for file upload in assignments. So if you have text entry, there's not the same option to annotate. For timed assessments, for assignments, you really only have the option to put in the window of availability for those assignments. For quizzes, you can not only have a window of availability, you can also have a timer for your quiz. And then for batch downloads, it's possible to batch download all of the submissions. You can grade them and then batch upload them. It's not currently possible to batch download assignments that have been graded directly in Quercus. Not batch, you can do it individually. For quizzes, you can download a CSV file, which would have all the responses from students. So those are the main differences between the two tools. Are there any questions?
I see Shahad has her hand raised, so I just want to know if you have a question.
Oh, that was from before.
Okay, no worries.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Regarding the assignments, if we have any assignments. Yes.
Yes. So tips for exam. The exams are, yes, I know they seem like they're far away, but they're actually going to be coming up faster than we realize. So thinking about your students in terms of the exam instructions, providing a sample exam for students to try to, just alleviate some of that exam anxiety, and also for them to be able to try out their equipment and make sure everything's functioning properly. Using the student view to catch any issues, and having a plan for how you're going to monitor your exam and provide assistance in real time, and having a plan for how the exam will be marked. So this is just some tips from Fiona and from Anne from a previous session.
So I have a question, Simone, and I asked you this by email before previously. So if we wanted to monitor students, so see who they're sitting beside, or if they have any background, or if they're looking at something, and then also doing the quiz, can we do that?
So Zoom is not really, Zoom or Blackboard Collaborate or any of those video conferencing tools are not really for proctoring an exam.
Okay.
You wouldn't use them to proctor an exam. And as well, there's an interesting article that's recently come out that just shows how difficult it is to really tell what a student is actually, if they're interested or if they're looking away, what they're looking away at, if they're just, it's very contextual, very difficult to make those assessments. I can send you the article. I can share it with you, perhaps at the Q&A part of the session. But the other thing is to think about your exam or your assessment in terms of, is this a Googleable? Is it something that students can easily share and copy? And Anne and the RGAS team, and actually there was a very interesting session on academic integrity yesterday as well, looking at things like if the final exam is worth a higher percentage of the total grade, then there can also be more of that can also create more of an interest in sharing, inappropriate sharing.
Inappropriate sharing.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So something that you can also share with your students, though, as you're thinking about your quizzes and your assignments, the UTM Learn Anywhere technical tips for students. So we do have videos and step-by-step instructions for students on how to submit their assignments, on how to take a test, and what to do if there is an issue. So if there is an issue, we actually do need more detailed information. It's not just, if you could please ask your students, the information is all there on the Learn Anywhere page. Yes, Angie's put the link in the chat as well. But the thing is that when students are taking a quiz, they can actually reconnect and start the quiz where they left off. But sometimes students, they get disconnected and then they just give up. So the message is, don't give up, just retry, reconnect, and start your quiz. It should start from where you left off. And if there are issues, where possible, to take a screenshot and to also to provide the information about their operating system, what browser they're using, because we also need to provide that information in advance so our students are prepared before they even take the quiz or submit the assignment. So the expectations and the information is clear to them about how they can take a quiz. And we're also developing, together with the Office of the Registrar and RGASC and INITS, a practice test portal or practice test Quercus module that students can use to practice taking a quiz or taking an assignment and get some experience with their own technical setup so that it's not so scary when they have to do it during for your class. Another thing we wanted to mention is that the Canvas student mobile app should not be used for high stakes activities like submitting your assignments or taking a quiz. So students shouldn't be using their mobile devices to do this. There can be issues with mobile devices. As you know, connectivity, it can drop more easily. There can be other issues. And also, if you are using proctoring or other forms of where you're asking students to share their identification or through the proctoring process, please note that students may change their preferred name on Quercus and in the system. So we have quite a number of students who have changed their first name, and they have not changed their name legally, perhaps. They've just changed, this is the name that they prefer to be known by. And so this means that if they are showing you their T card, then the first name may not match with the name that you have in Quercus. So just to keep that in mind as well.
Hi, is it okay if I ask a question?
Yes.
Just want to know, is there any restrictions on asking students to turn on their cameras during a quiz? Like, is there any privacy concerns or any, I don't know, policy or anything like that?
So there are privacy concerns, and there is actually in the Teach Anywhere module, we do have information from the from Argask and from the team in terms of asking students to turn on their webcams. So there is the whole issue of equity as well. So some students may feel uncomfortable with turning on their cameras.
Mm-hmm.
So being aware of that and sensitive to that, there could be, we don't know what's going on in, like these students now are maybe in a home environment, or they could be, in an environment where they may not feel safe or they may not feel secure. So just always being very much aware of that, and requiring them to turn on their webcams is something that if you look at the information from the course syllabus and other U of T information, we can put them in the chat in a moment. You're going to want to make sure that if you are requiring the webcam to be on, it's for a specific pedagogical purpose. It's for a reason. Why do you want my camera on? Is it to, Big Brother watch over me? What is it that why do you want the camera on? And to express the reason for that. And if there are students who are uncomfortable, to, just provide an alternative for them to show that they're engaged. Because if you're really looking for engagement, there are ways for students to show their engagement without necessarily turning on their camera.
Yeah. Sorry, I haven't been specific. I was more referring to during exam or quizzes, and I don't know whether or not it can be used as a deterrence of, cheating or anything like that. So it's a little bit of the Big Brother watching, but only during exam or quizzes, not.
It's not Zoom or Blackboard Collaborate or any of those web conference tools are not for exam invigilation. They're not for proctoring. They would not be used for that purpose. The reason why some instructors are using Zoom or Blackboard Collaborate is to have an open line of communication with your students in case there are questions or there are issues that arise. So we have some students as well who have accessibility accommodation. And sometimes the accessibility team is working closely with the instructor and may have a private room for an individual who has an accommodation request. So it's really more about communication. It's not so much about invigilation.
Okay.
It actually is not a tool you would use for invigilation.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Sorry. And we do have the technical tips for students. If students can, this is all on the webpage, the UTM Learn Anywhere that Angie has placed in the chat. just that students need to give the course code, the assignment name, the date and time the problem occurred, brief description of the problem, the operating system, the browser they use, the connection, if possible, a screenshot. So the more information they can provide, the better it is. And so we just need to prepare students in advance to know what the process is. And now I'm going to turn it over to Ken, who's going to share with you assignments in Quercus.
Thank you, Simone. So I'll be just focusing on the assignment tool in Quercus, but can I get a thumbs up if you can hear me clearly? It's on the participant, or a thumbs up, yeah, or on the participant panel if you wish. Okay, good, just wanted to check. So before we carry on, it can be a little confusing in Quercus because if you click on the assignments link, you will have access to assignments and quizzes. So just be aware of that. And in a nutshell, the assignment tool is really a Dropbox where students can upload files, text responses, or they actually can put media or a link that you want. So one suggested way, if you're having students do a video assignment, a good way is for them to submit the URL to that video assignment on a streaming server instead of actually uploading it to Quercus, right? So that's what the assignment tool is in a nutshell. So planning is very essential. When you're going to have your assignment, and Simone mentioned extensively about communication. What is the goal of the assignment? You know, proper instructions, how they're going to complete it, instructions regarding the deadline, how the assignment is constructed, whether it's multiple choice, you know, fill in the blanks, and also the times per question as well, right? So how long do they have to do the assignments? So all of this is very important, as well as any word limits. You don't want the assignments too short nor too long. So we realize the more you communicate with the students, the more guidelines that you will give them, then you're setting them up for a more successful submission. We also want to bear in mind that there are some formatting requirements as well. So if you're, especially if you're going to be using the speed grader, that allows you to annotate the assignments that are submitted, but there are certain file types and fonts that are recommended. And there's a link there that you can look at after this. Also, whether or not they can have any aids, what's authorized, what's not, and that will vary from course to course. So please be as specific as you can and explicit. And last but not least, some verbiage on the integrity, academic integrity. That's very important to constantly communicate this with the students as well. And we have some suggested words below. So as we move on, so here's an example of an assignment, and it's a critical review assignment. As you can see on the right, the instructor has put very, very clear instructions. And at the bottom, we have the U of T academic integrity statement. This is a scaffolded assignment. So there are a couple of assignments that come to a cumulative paper at the end. And also, we just want to make sure that we mention a few points. When you're designing your assignment, if possible, we want you to consult with Argos or educational developers that are there, and especially with your assignment design. If you have any questions regarding that, Argos is a very good place to be. You also want to be more inclusive in your course. So think of multiple forms of assessment. That helps because we have inclusion in multiple forms of delivery. We also should think about multiple forms of assessment. So that's something to think about as well. A couple of tips. For example, on the left, you can see that there's an option to select or to restrict the file uploads. We recommend that you use that with caution, only if absolutely necessary, because once you start to specify the file types, then you have to be very explicit. So we have seen many times students come in a panic, you know, the odd student who waits until the last minute, and they come in a panic and said, listen, I cannot upload my file. I'm uploading a docx, and the instructor has only specified .doc. So you'd have to put .doc, .docx, or .pdf. So if not necessary, we recommend you just leave it blank. And also for the assignment, you can request that they use specific file name, be explicit about that as well. And then bear in mind again that there are certain file types and fonts, and there is a file limit. For Canvas, it's 0.5 gig, and for Turnitin, it has to be less than 100 megabytes. Right? Okay, so what does the assignment area look like in Canvas? So if you click on assignments link, you will be presented with a window that's very similar to this. So first of all, you have your assignment, the button to plus assignment to create a new assignment. And that's the typical naming convention in Quercus. You can see here we have an example of what a published assignment looks like. So you have the assignment name. If you have specified some due date, it will be there. You can see that this one is closed because it's passed, how many points the assignment is worth. And to the right, you'll see that green check mark that specifies that the assignment is published. Again, that's pretty typical in Quercus. That green check mark tells you that the assignment is published. You can also see that the assignment is part of an assignments group at the top, which is 50% of the total grade. And again, as I mentioned, Simone will talk about quizzes, but at the bottom here, you can see we also have access to quizzes as well. And we have links for you to explore further in developing assignments. Okay, so let's say we have clicked on the plus assignment button. We're now creating our assignment. We are provided with options. Of course, you put in your assignment name, but here we have our rich content editor. And this has changed over the last few months. So if you see it appears a bit differently, just has changed. And we have options. Your typical formatting options is to the left, but we just want to highlight, you can put a link, you can insert an image, files, MS Teams video meeting, right? Just a video meeting for MS Teams. You can have Office 365 OneDrive. You can add different apps as well. If you're using mathematical symbols, you can have that option as well, option 10. If you want to clear the formatting, put in tables. So has a lot of options. Very important also is that you specify the number of points for the assignments, right? And you can specify the assignment group. Now we'll talk a little more about that assignment groups. And we recommend that you display the grade as points. You'll see percentage, but we recommend that you keep it as points because that's the best for calculations. You can also, it's very good to check your assignment or check what you have typed for accessibility. And if you want to get fancy, you can use the HTML editor, right? So this is, so the good thing about this is that when you're creating your assignment, you can actually put a lot of rich content in the assignment description. So as we move on, we look at further options for the assignment. You can specify the submission type at the top here. So you can specify whether it's text entry, media website, or file uploads. And once you specify a file upload or a text entry, then you'll be provided with the option to select your plagiarism review, right? But before we get into that, just want to also make mention that you can specify the number of attempts for assignments. This is also fairly new as well. So regarding our plagiarism review, the framework or the tool that we're using is Turnitin. And these are the options that you have for Turnitin. What we have here are the recommended options. So choose all the repositories, but we recommend that you do not exclude any of the similarity flags like bibliographic materials or such. Note that you can actually drill down and you can restrict or you can actually exclude them on a needs basis, but we recommend that you leave them off. And show reports to students, we recommend never. But bear in mind that all of these are actually based on your pedagogical needs. So you may choose or you may need to show the reports to a student. For example, if it's a writing exercise and you want the student to see how they have done and resubmit, that's fine. But these are the options that we recommend for now. And feel free to stop me at any time, right? So when you're creating an assignment, you can create an assignment as a group assignment. So groups assignments are very, very good tools, very good opportunities for students to work collaboratively. They can develop practical and transferable skills, learn how to communicate, learn how to collaborate. So that's one big plus of using a group assignment. You can give them feedback, or they can give each other feedback. And if you model that as instructors, then you can make that a part of the grade as well. And the students can choose their own topics. So when you're setting up groups, you can either set up the group before you have the assignment, or you can actually set up the group when you're creating the assignments. So if you click here and you specify this is a group assignment, you have the option to say either assign grades to each student individually. By default, this grade will be assigned to the group. How a group assignment works, one student submits on behalf of the group. Once that is made, that's the group submission, right? And if you choose to create the group set, having not done it before, all you need to do is specify a group name. You can allow self-sign up for the groups. You can split the groups randomly, split the students randomly into specified number of groups, or you can create the groups manually. You can also specify a group leader, and the group leader is one who can, they can rename the group or edit the group name as well, right? So that's using groups. Again, any one of these options that you want to use, if you're stuck or need consultation, please do not hesitate to reach out to us, right? We will share this presentation with you, and it has the relevant links. Now, you can also set up accommodations for your assignments. So for example, if you have a student that requires a different due date, a student that requires a wider window of availability for the assignment, or you may have multiple sections, and multiple sections have the assignment due on different dates. So here, once you click on add, and I just want to emphasize here, all you need to do is to click add. Do not remove assign to everyone. Just click add, and then you'll be adding different availability dates and due dates to what is already existing. What happens if you remove everyone and add only a single student, then all the grades will disappear from the grade center. And we have had a few queries of that as well. And disappearing grades is never a good thing. So I put do not delete the students, just add. As you can see here, this one is assigned to everyone else, and this one is assigned to this student. So what happens is that once you start to add students, usually it defaults to everyone else, right? So is that point clear? I just want to make sure that point is clear, because we've had a few queries where instructors have removed everyone and added a student or a student or two, and then the grades have disappeared in the grade center. I see something in the chat. Oh, thank you, Simone. Simone has placed some good links. Okay, so let's move on. So we talk about the assignments, and just to talk about assignment groups. Now, assignment groups are the way that we can assign weighting to your grade book. So for example, if you have anything in your syllabus that has a particular weight, it has to be assigned to an assignment group. So you cannot really assign weights to an assignment or a quiz itself. It is done at the group level. So for example, here we have, although we only have one assignment in the group and one quiz, we still create a group and we assign it to the group. So once you click on assignments, you have the groups here. Assignment is one group, number 4, quiz is another group, number 5, and we see the weightings here, 50-50, 6 and 7. And if we want to change that, we just click on the 3 dots beside plus assignments, that's the menu. And if we go and if we go ahead and click on it, click, then we're taken here to this page, and you have an option that says assignment group weight, right? I don't think we have the slides for this, but I'm just going to mention it while we're here. This is another option. You can edit assignment dates in a bulk, right? So you can bulk edit assignment dates, but we can talk about that another time. So we click on assignment group weights. Once we click on that, click, then we are brought to this screen. So here we have assignments, a category for assignments, a category for quizzes, extra assignments, and we can specify the weighting. So this would match your syllabus. This would match the weightings on your syllabus. For assignment groups, a couple of options you have. is that if you, for example, have 5 quizzes and you want to drop one of the 5, once all 5 quizzes are in a group, you can specify for that group that you wish to drop one lowest or one highest or whatever combination works for your assessment needs. So that's it for assignments. Any questions? If not, or I'll pass on to Simone, who will speak a little more about the quizzes.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I've already created quizzes already or assignments already. Is it, but I created it without the group. And can I create a group and then move the assignment back into the group?
Yeah, so once you go to the assignment and you specify this is a group assignment, nobody has submitted to the assignment as yet, right?
No, sorry, it's assignment group. I think you, because you know,
sorry, assignment group, not group assignment. Yes, okay. So you have created an assignment group and you want to add an assignment to it?
I already have assignments. I did not create assignment groups, but I already have individual assignments. Is it possible to create the assignment group and then add those existing assignments into the group?
Oh yes, you can. So
Okay.
when you create the assignment group, you can either drag the assignment to the group that you wish.
Perfect. Yeah, because I'm going to drop the lowest score of one of the assignments, but I didn't do that in the group before. Okay, thank you.
Right. So have them all in one group. That's how you do that.
Perfect.
You'll just want to make sure that all those assignments have the same value, though.
I see. Yep.
Yeah. So okay, so I'll pass over to Simone, who will pass it.
Okay. Thank you, Ken,
You're
for
welcome.
that overview of assignments. And moving on to online quizzes, surveys with different question types. And so how are instructors using Quercus quizzes and surveys? They're actually doing a lot with Quercus quizzes and surveys. For the surveys, they're doing subtle research for some. They're also, if they have a change to the syllabus, they also have been using the ungraded survey option. There's the midterm and end of term survey to ask students how things are going, to check in with your students. As well, it's possible to turn off anonymity for surveys if you need to know how students have responded on a survey. So just to keep that in mind. And quizzes, we've got a fair number of students who, or instructors rather, who are using quizzes, pre-tutorial quizzes. Some use a syllabus quiz for students to take to ensure that the students have read the syllabus. And if they answer correctly on the syllabus quiz, then the remaining content becomes available to their students. And there are also academic integrity tests and quizzes if you're working with the Robert Gillespie Academic Skills Center. There's also some instructors have used it for a video introduction from students. This is a one-way thing though, just to keep in mind if the instructor would like to ask students just for a brief introduction, and also if they would like to share with the instructor how to pronounce their name properly, that's another option. But just to keep in mind that video introduction, if you're using a quiz, it's one way from the student to the instructor, solely to the instructor or the grading team. And you can actually reply back to the student, but it would not be used for students to share videos with each other. Self-check tool for students, it's been used also as a background knowledge check and other final assessments and other things. So planning your Quercus quiz, again, it's very similar to your assignment, thinking about what your goals are for the quiz and sharing that with the students, providing them with instructions on how to complete the quiz, if there's a time limit, the window that the quiz or test will be available to students just so that they can prepare, information about the quiz deadline, number and types of question and suggested time per question, if there are any word limits, the formatting requirements, and again, the authorized, unauthorized aids and the academic integrity question or a reminder or other recommended parts of quiz planning. And this is a sample from ENV 100. from Barb Merck and Monica Havelka. Just some tips for students that they provide to their students. So if students lose their internet connectivity, what they can do, how they can restart the quiz, click on the resume quiz button. And also the recommendation to use either Chrome or Firefox browsers, not to use Safari, Edge, or IE browsers. And also what to do if students have content-specific questions. So they've created a questions area where students can post their questions. And also if there is a specific policy regarding late submissions, then just to make students aware of that. And ensuring students know that once they submit that quiz, there's no turning back. They just need to make sure that they have everything completed and ready to go. And information about petitioning if there is an option to petition. And these are sample term test instructions as well. So just to give an idea of what that can look like for students. So if I'm coming in and I'm opening up the test, I now know what exactly is involved in the test, and I know approximately the time I should be taking for each specific section of the test. This just helps me when I'm writing the quiz as a student, and it can be very helpful. So quizzes in Quercus, you would go, of course, to the quizzes area in Quercus and just go to plus quiz. And there are different quiz engines in Quercus. So there is the classic quizzes and the new quizzes. The new quizzes have all kinds of really cool new features, such as hotspots. However, the new quizzes functionality is not quite up to the same level as the classic quizzes. So for example, you can't currently batch download student responses in the new quizzes. So there's not feature parity between these two engines. So for now, for high stakes assessments, we're recommending that you stick with the classic quizzes. You may want to experiment with the new quizzes, but only for low stakes assessments. And you can also select the option to remember the choice for the course. And we have also provided the timeline for the new quizzes and the features being considered for the new quizzes. And there's also voting if you have things that you would like to see in the new quizzes features. So again, the interface, the rich content editor has been updated, as you no doubt have noticed. So there are now, in addition to the formatting options, a new way to look at inserting your links and inserting images and inserting media. So it's recommended that you upload items to the course if you want students to view those items in something like in the quiz instructions or in the stems of questions, that you upload it into the course and then embed it from the course so that students will be able to view it properly. There's also the files as well, files area. And again, you would upload that to the course. There's the Teams meeting option and Office 365 OneDrive. So if you have instructions in your OneDrive and you want to share that with students, you could do that. The apps, plugins, things like YouTube and other options there. And as Ken has mentioned, the clearing the formatting tables and the math equations options. So you would put your instructions in here. Another thing to note is sometimes there is an attachment option down here at the bottom. It's really more recommended that you upload these two directly to your course and link to them in this manner rather than attaching them. If you attach them, if you use the attachment option that sometimes appears below the rich content editor area, that will actually count against your personal quota in Quercus. So you have different options here, the practice quiz, which will not show up in the grade center or the grade book. So if you do want that information to show up in the grade book, I would not recommend using a practice quiz. Then you have the graded quiz, a graded survey, and an ungraded survey. So essentially it comes down to, do you want this information to be captured in Quercus? If you do, you would want to make it a graded quiz or a graded survey. Then you also have the option to place this in an assignment group. So you may have created this in advance and you can just select it. And again, you have the accessibility option, and you also have the HTML editor on the quizzes interface. So some things you can do when you're thinking about quizzes to mitigate academic integrity, potential academic integrity issues, are to think about things like shuffle answers. The thing with shuffling the answers, however, is to make sure that your quiz response options do not have any dependencies. So for example, if you're using something like all of the above or all of the below, if you shuffle the answers, then students may receive those questions out of order, and so could be confused by the all above or all below. So just to keep that in mind, that you want to avoid those kinds of dependencies between your response options. There is also the time limit option, which it is recommended that you include a time limit. We have had instructors who have left no time limit, but who have just put the date and time for when it's available and due. The time limit option is actually recommended because it gives students a timer, which I believe they can shut off if they need to. And also if you have specific accommodation requests, then you can add those onto the time limit. Allow multiple attempts. So you can do that if you're thinking of perhaps you have a quiz that students are taking just as a knowledge check, and you want to give them more than one option or more than one attempt, and you want them to just keep trying and learning from their interaction with the quiz. So that is an option. The other piece is to leave the let students see their quiz responses unchecked. And if you wish to allow students to see their responses, to check it after all quiz responses have been completed by students. You can show one question at a time and lock questions after answering, just to be aware that if you do this before your quiz is published and you preview the quiz, it could lock it. So you want to publish your quiz if you're using those two options and you're wanting to preview the quiz. Some instructors have been using the require an access code, particularly in large classes, where they have multiple sections and they're giving an access code to specific sections. We also, so there is filter by IP addresses, but that's really would be something you would do if you were in class. It's not really something that is used.
Hi, can I ask a quick question again?
Yes.
Requiring access code, I do have the same class but two different sections. Is there any recommendations on what to do? Like, is it just both sections using one access code, one quiz and one access code?
So have you cross-listed your sections?
Sorry, I don't think I know what that means.
So what that means is you're you've actually combined, are they different sections being offered at different times?
Yeah, different section. Actually, I think it's just one. I try to do, when I click that assign to, I can only see my section or everyone. Those are the only two options.
Okay, so
I don't think my program or my office did that separation for me.
yes, so are you a TA perhaps?
No, I'm not a TA, I'm the instructor. Okay,
so you should be able to see both sections if they were cross-listed into your course. That means combined into the course. If you have them separate, then yeah, it would be two separate quizzes.
I tried creating different groups, but it seems like the group option is not available for quiz. Like, I don't see that as an option for me to pick from the assigned to field there.
We can take a closer look if you like afterwards in the, we can take a closer look at your specific situation.
Okay, thank you.
So we do also have the assign to box for accommodations. Again, as Ken has mentioned, you would want to use the plus add if you have a student with an accommodation. And you would always add, you would never delete. You would never delete these other students. So always think of it as like a +1. You always want to add, you never want to remove. Oh, Elspeth, if you don't see the options to choose different quiz engines when you create a quiz, you may have already selected that option when you first went into the course. It only usually shows up once.
Yeah, but Ken just said that we should be able to choose which engine on a per quiz basis, not a per class basis.
Yes.
So is there a way in which, like, if I wanted to try out one of these newfangled quizzes for a low stakes assessment, is there a way to kind of do that, or?
Yes, there is. Yep, you can turn it on in the feature options and settings.
Okay, great. I'll try that. Thanks.
Yep. So accommodations for quizzes, there's 2 steps. The first step is thinking of the window of availability. And the second would be to look at the time limit. So once the quiz is published, so you've already set the window of availability for the student who's in accommodation. Once the quiz is published, you would then go to moderate this quiz, and you can allow extra time on every attempt for a specific student. And then you'll see that this will show up. That student gets extra time. And you can select the pencil icon if you need to add extra time for other students. This is also the area where you can actually see real time the students taking the quiz, and you can see where they're at in the quiz.
All right, Simone, I have a question with regards to this. Does this apply for exams as well?
Yes, yeah.
So for exams, we would add the extra time. So we will have to monitor them, is not the accessibility that monitors the student.
So the accessibility, you would need to work with accessibility, and you need to, if there are students with an accommodation, you actually need to submit to accessibility in advance of the quiz or the test or the exam, so they know that you need assistance or that your students will need assistance.
Okay, right. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's at least a week in advance, but the thing is that they need to know because they have to do their scheduling.
I see.
Yeah. So you have different options for quizzes. You can create a new question. You can create a question group, which you can use for randomization. You can also find questions. And this is just a screen to show you what it looks like when you're moderating a quiz real time. You can see the time that the student is currently at within the quiz, how long it took them to take the quiz, if the time is up, how many attempts they may have left, what their score is. So this is just, and the other thing is that if there are students who have been booted out, you cannot, and who cannot resume their quiz, if they don't go in, they have to go in within the time frame of the quiz. If they try to go back and resume the quiz after the quiz is over, they won't be able to go back in. The other piece is that if they've started a quiz, then, and they don't go back to the quiz, there's no way of them continuing on with that particular quiz. So just to keep that in mind as well. So using the student view, you can use the student view to check through the quiz and check through the assignments and make sure that everything is running the way it should be. You would just go to settings, select student view, and then you can see what the course looks like from the student view. And these are just measures that you can take to support academic integrity. We've already gone over most of these. Using the question groups to randomize quiz questions, shuffling the answers, having a time limit, allowing multiple attempts, not letting students see their quiz responses, showing one question at a time, locking questions after answering, requiring an access code, limiting the quiz availability window, and always, always, always putting in your available from, your due date, and your until dates. Making sure that you have all of those dates in there. And embedding the quiz images from files that are uploaded into the Quercus course. So I'm going to pause there and ask for any questions about quizzes. Are there any other questions about quizzes? Okay, I'm going to stop the recording now, and I want to thank everyone for participating.
Have questions regarding Quercus or other instructional technologies? Contact us via email, telephone, or instructional support on the UTM service portal.